So when you're thinking about where to do it, though, I mean, again, there's so many paths across the country. Why did you decide the southern route, and why in wintertime?
Well, several things. First off, no one in their right mind walks from the East Coast to the West Coast or bikes because it's into the wind, right?
Right, right.
So that on the surface seems really stupid, but but my parents and my sister and her family all live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I wanted to spend. My father has Parkinsons, as we said, and he can't travel anymore. So I wanted to get together with them over Thanksgiving. My original concept was just to get up from Thanksgiving table and walk, but then it's also interesting because that area to San Diego is the shortest distance across the U.S. So because I work, I couldn't take. I would have loved to take 6 months and just really dive into this stuff, but I couldn't do that. So I had to push myself to get this thing done very quickly. So that's why I picked that area. That's why I picked that route. And then during that time of year, I mean, I was skimming the border with Mexico. If I could have gone further south, I would have. The weather was just horrific in some places. So warmer the better at that time of year.
So you decide this route, but let me ask you this, because I know how this goes. Being married myself for a few years, the wife had something to say about it. Tell me what that conversation was like when you had your aha moment, because there's what you think, and then there's what she thinks.
Well, first off, I have an amazing wife. Heidi is just incredible.
And so do I. I have to put it on the record. So do I. Okay.
No doubt, no doubt. As you can tell from some of the activities I've done in the past, while this is a little bit bigger than most of those, this wasn't like a total surprise to her. And, she has seen the effect that my proactive dealing with the disease has had on our family. She was very supportive from the get-go. And, taking the time off and away from my family was one of the hardest things about this trip. But, they all came down with us at the start. She met me out in Texas with our kids for a week over Christmas. So, and then she met me at the finish as well. So we tried to make the best of it, and she was completely supportive from day one, which I give her just a tremendous amount of love and credit for. But yeah, the family, being away from the family was the hardest thing. For sure.
Sure. And your kids, were they in the similar boat? They're like, well, this is just what dad does, or was there any objection or fear from them?
Yeah, I think they didn't really I think that for a lot of people, when you say you're walking across the U.S., yeah, it's a huge effort, but most people don't really realize how immensely difficult this was on a daily basis. And physically, I think, that was the big thing that Heidi, my wife, and my parents were worried about, is like the physical toll it was going to take on my body. The kids were just like, wow, that's cool. Dad's walking across America. The kids at school were talking about, we had some local papers and things, do some articles, so they feel like they're mini celebrities in this thing. And but I think the key is they don't see the disease as a real big negative with me. They see how I deal with it and how I've approached it. And of course, it's degenerative, so things will change over time. But right now, they kind of, if you were to ask them, like, yeah, Dad has Parkinsons, it's not like, oh my God, whatever. So I think my wife feels that it's been a great lesson for them to see how I've approached these issues.
I bet it has. And now I got to ask you, because in order for this, I think, to truly be inspirational, we have to see Bill the human being. You got to tell me what you were scared of, because there's no way that all of this was just like, oh, sure, no problem. I mean, even with your background, you had to be fearful. And so talk to me about that, before, because it's the moment before that always gets me. So tell me about your fears going in and right up to, could you die doing this?
Yeah, for sure. So, my coach is an Olympic coach, right, to start off with, and he's saying I can't do it. So this is one of the top coaches in the world, right, is telling me I can't do this. So right off the bat, my biggest fear was day one, I'm like, can't do the mileage that I'm trying to do, because you can't train to walk 40 miles a day when you're working a full-time job and have a family and everything else. I just couldn't do it. So on the weekends, I'd do one long walk, a week kind of thing. And I'd be walking at night and in the mornings and at lunch, but I didn't put in back-to-back, 40 miles a day for anything to train. So I didn't even know if I could do it, first off. And then second off, when we mapped this out, there's roads where I had to be on the interstate, and there's no median. And, and not only that, I had to walk on the interstate. I walked probably 300 miles on the interstate, which technically you can't do. And I did get pulled over a lot, and I was allowed to do it, but I got kicked off a couple times. And there were several sections. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say, tell me about that. Wait, let's not skip past that because this is we're never going to get through this in a half an hour, so we're just going to have to commit to doing as much as we can later. But I got to know those beats. Wait a minute, you got kicked off the highway because I know what you mean. Riding across the bike on we were sometimes just let's just go. And on a bike we could at least move pretty fast. On foot, you're super exposed and you're not moving. I mean, how many miles per hour are you going? What's your average?
So I'm walking about 4 to 4+ miles an hour,
Okay.
but I'm averaging 3.3 to 3 point something with all the stops and eating and all those types of things.
Yeah.
So I'm trucking along super fast, right?
So the cops pull you over the first time. Tell me about that. I want to hear the first time because you knew it was coming, probably, right?
So I had 2 sections of this trip where if I got kicked off the interstate, I was in big trouble. I would have had to walk through Mexico or go like 300 miles out of my way for one of these sections on Interstate 8 and Interstate 10. But on Interstate 10, I'd been pulled over 3 or 4 times by the State Patrol, and they had let me continue. I had been pulled over once by the Border Patrol. I have several of these on video, actually. It's kind of nice.
What do you say? I mean, how do you explain yourself?
Well, it's interesting. The first time I said, I'm walking across the United States to raise awareness for Parkinson's disease with support from the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And I have a great story about that, too. Maybe I can tell it real quick. So I got pulled over at night and had this glowing jacket on. This jacket glows for miles. And the state guy, he was shaking like this, and he's like, I thought you was an alien. This is the police officer. He's so nervous because the suit is like glowed, and I'm like, no, and I'm with my friend Kevin, and I say, I'm walking across the country for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. He goes, he's on with his dispatcher. He goes, that's Michael J. Fox? He goes, he's walking across the country with Michael J. Fox. I'm like, no. And he calmed down, and he let us continue. And the police, by and large, were amazing. Like I have the state trooper in Texas presented me with the state trooper patch and everything else. But in New Mexico, I ran into a state trooper who had a problem. 3 years prior, he had given someone a warning, and 4 hours later, they were hit and killed by a semi. And he told me, Bill, I really respect what you're doing, but you have to leave at this next exit, and I can't let you walk any further. That worked out okay because I ended up walking through the San Carlos Reserve, which turned out to be the most amazing thing in the whole trip. But other areas of the road, if I would have been kicked off, I would have had to walk through Mexico, which kind of defeats the purpose of walking across the U.S. So I was very scared about that happening.
Yeah.
Which I hate to say it, but I guess I got lucky.